everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the CXO show. My name is Swapnil Kamat. I'm the CEO of upGrad for Business. As usual, this is the most exciting time of the week for me, and the reason why I'm looking unusually happy is this is the first recording of the CXO show we're doing in 2024. And as all of you all know, this is the best and most favorite activity that I have to do because I get to interact with so many exciting guests. Today, I have Mohit Saxena, who I'm going to introduce in a lot more detail a little later. But Mohit, how are you doing?
I'm doing good and wishing you a very happy new year, Swapnil. Looking
Thank you.
forward for the interaction.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The CXO show is a show that features some of India's most successful professionals. We've already released between 20 to 25 episodes. The show is gaining a lot of traction amongst people, which we're very, very happy about. We typically feature people from the HR and learning and development community. And the reason why we do that is because people from the HR and learning and development community have a lot of insight into people's careers. And therefore, they can help a lot of people, both from the HR community and outside of the HR community, gain some valuable tactics, strategies, tools that they can use to succeed in their careers. And that's the reason why we love inviting these people on the show. And some of the insight that we've got over since we started shooting the show is taught me so much, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners have gained something valuable from the show. Mohit, before we get started, I'm going to quickly introduce you, and then we will get started with the show. So Mohit is the head of human resources at Bajaj Energy. He's a seasoned HR professional renowned for his expertise in global recruitment, HR transformation projects, and talent management. Mohit has augmented his extensive experience with an executive program in human resource management from IIM Calcutta. Before assuming his current role at Bajaj Energy, Mr. Saxena has made substantial contributions across diverse industries, including manufacturing, telecom, technology, energy, by working with organizations like Sterlite Technologies and Sterlite Power. Colleagues commend Mr. Saxena for his unmatched passion in team building and achieving organizational objectives, is praised for his leadership style that empowers teams for decision making and end-to-end execution. Mohit is described as an extremely hardworking, diligent HR professional with an in-depth knowledge and understanding of all facets of HR, maintaining a deep connection with the intricacies of the business he's involved in. Mohit, that was quite a nice introduction, wasn't it?
Yeah, good to hear it from you.
That's good. Okay, so Mohit, of course, this part of the show is quite standard, where I ask my guests to quickly do a run through of their journey, possibly from their last bit of formal education that they had till this position that you've gotten to as HR head. And again, I think it's important for people to remember that getting to these positions like an HR head or a marketing head or a CTO, etc. It's not easy to do, right? Because there are so many people vying for such few of these positions. So really chalking out that journey from your start to here, I think is important for people to hear. So, and of course, if you could make it succinct, that would be great.
Yeah. So just to begin with, basically, I've done my graduation in sciences,
Yeah.
bachelor's of sciences, and then pursued a career in management. So I did my post-graduation in HR from Chennai, followed by a executive program in HRM, strategic HRM from IIM Calcutta.
Mm,
So, completing a management course, people side has always been one interesting domain
mm,
or area for
mm,
me.
mm,
I was basically driven by interacting with people, talking to people, working with teams, and doing things. Luckily, as start of my career, I happened to land up with my first job in
mm.
HR as a management trainee with Sterlite
Got it.
Technologies, where the company was coming up with two greenfield projects,
Mm,
setting up the optical fiber cable factories in Silvassa. And I was lucky enough to be selected for the position of the HR head at that time, though I was a
Mm.
management trainee,
Mm.
to start the two plants right from the inception stage. So these were greenfield
Mm.
projects, and
Yeah.
coming right out of college, studying all the theoretical knowledge and things related to HR, and then you needed to come and work into a project where you were really implementing all these things on the ground.
Yeah.
This was one of the best learning grounds, which was a very good start. Luckily, it happened with my
Mm.
career. And that is where I actually got to see the business right from the grassroots level.
Yeah.
How do you run a factory? What do you need to look at in terms of the permissions, the statutory requirements, the labor laws, the setting up of manpower requirements, hiring, recruitment, putting people on board, setting in processes, right from the basic processes of time office to looking at how do you induct people, how do you orient them into the organization, then how do you look at employee engagement, R&R.
Yeah.
All these things luckily happened like a dream come true
Mm.
where you were thrown into the ocean and you were asked to swim.
Mm.
So one thing which I really loved was that when you're thrown into the ocean and you're asked to do things, that helps you build in a courage which you start doing because you're doing things first time and
Mm.
you don't know how to do them.
Mm.
So you're actually networking with industry professionals, you're networking with consultants, you're networking with labor law experts, and you're trying to understand the intricacies of how the business runs. I think that was the foundation, a very solid foundation of understanding business, not just from the HR perspective, but from the holistic angle of understanding how all the different departments actually coordinate and collaborate between themselves in terms of achieving the larger goal of the
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as part of my career transition, internal growth, I continue to stay with this one organization. People still ask me this question: what kept you
Mm.
moving 20, 21 years in one
Mm.
organization? Actually, the most interesting part was that there was change which was
Mm.
happening, there was growth which was happening, there was growth within the company, and there was individual
Yeah.
growth which was happening. So I moved from the cable side onto the technology side. I work with Sterlite Technologies. They have one of the fourth largest optical fiber manufacturing
Mm.
capacity in the world. Today, the entire communication dream, the communication drive in the country is because of the optical fiber networks which
Yeah.
are laid down. Technologies being one of the prominent
Mm.
players, get expats, global expats, R&D and technology coming in. That was one part of HR where I intellectual people, intellectual talent who was looking in R&D and
Mm.
all that. Post that, the third part of the journey was the transmission business. We set up the India's largest private transmission
Mm.
business in India, starting up with just a team of 10 people, scaling it up to 300, 400 people, across the
Mm.
country, building up transmission networks, then moving on in the transmission domain from India to
Mm.
Brazil, setting up the Brazil transmission business in for Sterlite Power, getting talent on board, being part of the business leadership team involved in the bidding of the projects, live
Mm.
exchange. So participating in the project bids, winning projects, acquiring them for the company, building up the organization. This is how the whole growth
Very
journey has
interesting.
been. So being on the telecom, cables, adding up the value chain, I also wanted to look at the generation part of
Mm.
it works. And there was an opportunity which came up with civil effect.
What is the job that is where you're going to learn the most, right? And if you wear that hat, especially when it comes to your first few jobs, in terms of, what's that thing that's going to help you learn the most. I think that's the best framework to use, because just like you mentioned, the first job that you got taught you so much and possibly built so much of your confidence and built so much of your expertise and helped you understand the real intersection of HR and business, right? Which rarely happens, right? You actually being in the thick of things, that would have taught you so much. So I wonder what you have to say on that, the importance of the first few jobs in a person's career.
Yeah, so my takeaway or my advice to people about the first few jobs is that, which I always keep telling to all the talent which I hire, whenever we go to campuses, we hire GTs, we hire management trainees, or we're getting people on
Mm.
board. the first advice which I tell them is that, see, no job is good or bad.
Mm,
It depends upon you how you want to make it good or
mm,
bad. It depends upon you how you enrich that job by your
mm.
knowledge.
Yeah, yeah,
It depends upon you how you don't limit yourselves into the boundaries of the respective function, saying that this is my function, I'm only gonna do this. So
yeah,
in the
yeah,
initial days of my job, I remember when we were setting up the greenfield projects, in addition to understanding about HR or doing HR jobs, I would spend a
yeah.
lot of time. A part of my day was partitioned into three sections. A part of the section would be sitting with the procurement and commercial team and looking at what are they actually
Mm,
trying to do, because they were ordering machines, they were
yeah,
ordering material, they were looking at vendors and all of them. So I would actually
yeah,
be
yeah,
spending time to understand the vendor ecosystem. How are they developing it? What is the mechanism involved in it?
yeah,
What are the regulatory
yeah,
mechanisms with respect to
yeah,
excise and taxes and
yeah,
XYZ happening over there?
yeah.
So that is something which was a very interesting perspective about understanding the financial intricacies of the business. Then
Mm,
rest part of my day would actually go working on the shop floor, talking to the project
yeah,
production heads, the planning control, production planning and control guys, the engineers and the technicians about how are they making the product,
yeah.
what are the specifications of the product, how will the quality vary, what will happen if we do this, what will happen if we do that. That really gave me a very good insight about the product knowledge.
Amazing.
And then between the two things of understanding commercials, understanding technicalities, understanding manufacturing processes, it was also the connect between people which was developing up.
Mm,
So that basically helps an individual to get into the other person's shoes and understand what are his pain points and problems.
mm,
And when you get that perspective, you definitely can define your own job very well, because you understand the pain points of your customer. So when
mm,
you really needed to do something that, okay, as HR, I want to do training. Now I really understand. I have a guy who's occupied in a job.
mm,
Probably he has a constraint of time. And I
mm.
cannot just enforce things on him that this is what you need to do.
Yeah,
How do I bring a blend in terms of understanding his pain points
yeah,
and ensuring my objective is met?
yeah,
That is something which gives a very good horizon to employees or people to understand
yeah,
that when you get into your first job, please do not limit yourselves to your function or role.
yeah,
Please expand your boundaries and never say no to any job being given or done.
yeah,
So even till date today, I continue to maintain a habit. If there is
yeah,
any job related to business which comes in, and there's a message that this is not going well or not doing fine or this is
yeah,
doing fine, let's look into it. I take an interest to get into it and understand what's happening,
yeah,
because anything and everything which you do expands your learning,
yeah,
expands your horizon.
yeah,
So that's the key mantra for probably anyone who's listening, the youngsters
yeah,
or our team members, that let's not limit ourselves to our silos.
yeah, yeah.
Let's expand.
Yeah, yeah. What a beautiful answer, Mohit. Again, everything that you're saying is taking me into different rabbit holes that I want to go into, right? So I think the you know some people get into a certain role and expand the role, and some people get into a role and contract the role, and that's largely based on a person's attitude, right? That happens. Then you've seen this again and again. You hire a certain person for a role, they expand the role, and typically the expansion of role that a person does for themselves leads to their own learning, right? Leads to their own benefit in some way. And if they're constantly drawing boundaries, right, for themselves and saying that, oh, this is not part of my job profile, this is not what I do, this is, well, you can continue doing that, but then don't expect professional success to come your way, right? If you're going to keep drawing boundaries and keep doing lesser than you can, right? And Mohit, is very interesting. A lot of people don't realize that actually expanding your role is the biggest service that you can do for yourself. And the reason why that is because what in the end you can learn through your formal education is has its limitations, right? What you can learn through your formal education, but most of your learning happens on the job, right? As to how to perform a job, which is essentially how do you get stuff done, right? And that you can learn only partly in college, but fully at the workplace, right? So I think your recommendation to people on expand your job role in some way, right, is a very important one, right? I think the second thing, Mohit, from what you said, which was very interesting and which I've seen as a common trend across, and if you watch my interviews, it's amazing how every person, Mohit, that has got to a position of an HR head or an L&D head, right, a really senior position within a company, the one thing that I've seen in common with them is their understanding of business in some way, right? So there are two things that have happened. There have one situation where there have been HR heads that have been business people to start with, and then something led to them getting into HR, and that really helps them because they understand business well. Or the second kind of situation is your situation, where you were very clear from the beginning that you're good at people related things, so you got into HR very early, but you got into HR, but everything that you did in HR revolved around a hardcore interfacing with business and hardcore understanding of business, right? I don't know many people, Mohit, at that early age that would actually sit with the procurement team, right? I wouldn't know many people that would actually go on the shop floor and understand the product making of some sort, right? Because they will say, "Arey, wo to HR hai hi nahi na. Why should I understand that?" And that again, I think for a lot of people from HR backgrounds, probably listening to this conversation, irrespective of which age group you're in, if you don't take a keen interest in understanding business bottom up, you're not going to be a very, very successful HR professional, right? Do you agree with that, or do you have a different point of view?
No, perfectly true. That's the essence, that's the key. That is how you're going to be successful or accepted by your stakeholders. You don't
Yeah.
understand their business, they're not going to understand you.
Yeah, because otherwise, what happens is where often making strategies, it could be a learning strategy, it could be a recruitment strategies based on our imagination, but not really based on the reality on the ground. And that's why then, Mohit, you'd agree, in a lot of places, HR ends up getting a bad name, right? Because they feel कि यार
True.
बस ये कर रहे हैं अपने को चीज चाहिए, they don't know what's actually happening on the ground, right? And I think your experience there is very important. So yeah, I think the importance of your first few jobs from a learning point of view, I think that's a very, very good point that you made. Second point, in terms of constantly trying to expand your role in some way, right, which leads to a lot of learning. And thirdly, like you said, HR needs to be connected with business, as closely connected to business as possible. I think that's a very, very valuable point, right? The other thing, which is very simple points but very insightful points that you had, was the importance of just talking to people, right? I think that's a lost art in a way, right? Just going and actually talking to people, because it may not seem like a very productive thing to do, and somebody may think, "अरे यार क्या बस जाके बात कर रहा है," but just those conversations around work and understanding people's job are so integral to a HR professional's growth, no?
Correct. True. So, in fact, I'd like to share a perspective here with
Yeah.
changing trends, changing age groups. Like in today's context in the organization, you have four generations of people possibly working together.
Mm. Yeah,
Bajaj being
yeah,
an organization which has got 100 years of legacy, which has been
yeah,
since the pre-independence era.
yeah,
Our founder of the company, Sri Jamnalal Bajaj ji, who was the fifth adopted son of Mr. Mahatma Gandhi,
yeah,
father of the nation, and had actually set up the Bajaj Group. We had set up industrialization since the pre-independence era,
yeah,
and Bajaj Hindustan Sugar
yeah,
was set up basically because Mahatma Gandhi's vision was that we should actually have industrialization in the country. We should have this commodity, essential commodity being generated within the country, which
yeah,
will also save forex, which will bring in industrialization, promote employment for people.
yeah,
So when you look at this organization, even Bajaj, we have generations of people working in this company, and I head the power business vertical. This division is just completing a decade, but I
yeah,
have seen people in this organization or in this group, they're working since generations, since two, three
mm,
generations.
yeah,
So we have the Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, all of them working together. Now, with different sets of people working here together in an organization, what basically happens is you have different people and you need to align all of them to a core
yeah,
purpose.
yeah,
You need them to be synced with the larger picture of the
yeah, yeah,
organization.
yeah,
With the changing trends, a lot of people speak about digitization, a
yeah,
lot of people speak about AI, a lot of people speak about machines learning and
yeah,
automation and all that. But despite all the digitization, AI, machine automation, and learning and all that, which throws out a lot of data points on analytics.
Mm,
What's very important is ultimately it's people who are running the
mm,
business, people who are running the functions. If you're not able to decode the human element within those people,
yeah,
however strong or capable your machines are,
yeah,
you will still remain theoretical.
yeah,
So having a blend, the right blend of using the modern technologies
mm,
but still maintaining the connect with people
yeah,
is definitely going to be a key success mantra for HR people and professionals and businesses to thrive upon.
yeah,
So, how much ever you may speak about automation, you also need to have that people connect, and that is where I say I have this habit of connecting with people, talking to businesses because you're getting the real feedback when you're
yeah,
actually talking to people.
yeah, yeah,
When you're having a one-on-one conversation, not calling people into your room, because
mm,
the moment you call people into your room, there is a feeling of inhibition. Why have they
yeah,
called me? Why is the
yeah,
HR calling me?
yeah,
But when you're on the shop floor and you're talking one on one to them, you're sharing views, you're asking them how things are going over a coffee shop, over a cup of tea, when you're talking to them, you're getting ideas.
yeah,
And you're listening to ideas, you're listening to feedback. And if you're defining your programs around that,
yeah,
a lot of low hanging fruits which you're actually trying to address.
yeah,
And once you address this low hanging fruits,
yeah,
you'll find that your teams and your workforces are starting to get aligned to the larger picture.
yeah,
So I very strongly believe that when you work in an organization, you have employees at different levels, at different stages of their career growth.
yeah,
You will not expect the same level of maturity from a business head, functional head, to an engineer, to a technician down the line.
yeah,
But as an HR professional, what's the role you have?
mm,
The role is you need to be clear that, like when Arjuna was shooting the arrow, he was clear that मछली की आंख पे तीर लगना है.
mm,
You have to be clear that मुझे लोगों में ये जो कंपनी का कोर पर्पस है
mm,
इसके प्रति जागरूकता बढ़ानी है. How do I
mm,
align individuals' purposes to the organization's purpose?
correct,
That is where I'm able to create value.
yeah,
So that can only happen not just through AI,
yeah,
but through the pure people connect, listening to their feedbacks,
yeah,
bringing in programs and initiatives which cover the low hanging fruits. They
yeah,
see the change happening. Once they
yeah,
see the change happening, they start connecting to the larger picture and they get aligned. And that is where you transform the organization into a place where people are looking to come forward to working in the
mm,
organization.
mm,
Just to add on, we had the COVID phase previously, and I think in Bajaj Group across the companies, we have townships in our power plants,
mm,
residential townships. We had created a social bubble.
mm,
All our employees and families were in the townships.
mm,
Lot of care was taken care by
yeah,
our chairman
yeah,
themselves in terms of the emotional and mental and physical well-being of
yeah,
employees. Letters were sent to employees saying that be rest assured, none of you are going to lose your jobs.
mm,
Town hall communication was done by chairman. Don't be worried. We will take care of
yeah,
you. Mediclaim policies covering mediclaim benefits, term life insurances, and COVID mediclaim benefits of 12 lakhs were given to employees.
wow,
Social bubble was created.
yeah,
Everything was so nicely done. Likewise, once the COVID had gone and things were returning to normalcy,
yeah,
we did ask people to come back to
yeah,
offices. In the corporate also, the MD, the chairman sir said, let people work from home. Though
yeah,
we are a company which is into power generation, which is an essential business.
yeah,
And we didn't ask people to come from home. The
yeah,
employees themselves actually wrote back to us saying that when can we come back to office? We would
yeah,
want to
yeah,
have the
yeah,
human touch. So
yeah,
this is where I'm trying to emphasize that AI and digitization can be
yeah,
enablers of your working,
yeah,
but
yeah,
human touch is the real driving force for people. And
yeah,
if you create a work culture which is really enriching, people will want to come back to work.
yeah,
We
yeah, yeah,
always say, thank God it's Monday.
yeah,
And people love to work. And I'm happy to share on this call that we had participated in the Great Place to Work survey this year.
mm,
And Bajaj Group has got an excellent score in terms of the Great Place to
amazing,
Work survey.
amazing,
And we've been certified Great Place to Work.
mm,
And in the survey participation, we had 100% participation of each and every employee participating in the
Wow.
survey on the ground,
Wow.
which is unique in itself. It speaks a lot about the culture of the company.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Again, so many points to touch upon, right? Based on what you said, Mohit. So in the end, business is about people, right? Because your customer is a human being, right? Your management is a human being, your shareholders are a human being, your employees are a human being, your vendors are human beings, your so you get what I'm trying to say, right? So on and so forth. So while every machine, right, or technology are need to be great enablers, I think in the end all of us need to know that all business is about people in the end, right? Because both your customer, employee, management, leaders, everybody are human beings, right? So therefore the people connect that you were talking about is so important, right, for not just HR but any leader, right, in the system. And Mohit, you would have seen this in the past, right? Which I keep sharing, that in the end all work is teamwork, and what teamwork essentially means is your ability to work, deal, and interact with other human beings to get a job done, right? So even if you're not a leader of people or you're not in a leadership position, your ability to interact and work with people is so essential to your career success yourself, right? And that's a really critical aspect to understand, that never lose the human touch and never um, reduce the importance of these human interactions, which are so important, and especially the kind of human interactions you spoke about, right? There's a famous management guru who called Tom Peters, who used to have this, he used to say management by walking around is what he would say, right? And he would basically encourage leaders of all degrees. He would say, you know what, ensure that you're on your shop floor, whatever your shop floor may be, right? If it's a factory, be on the shop floor there. If you're in a AC sleek office, be on the shop floor there, right? See the general buzz that's happening. Talk to people. If you're a salesperson, be on your shop floor, which could be at the client's end, right? In client offices. But be management by walking around is something which is very, very important, right? That's, I think, one thing that I've learned from what you said. I think the other thing which is very interesting is, often companies like Bajaj Energy, because of their legacy, right? Because they've been around for so long, they bring in a lot of value. But it was so nice for me to hear that, places like Bajaj Energy are really adapting a lot of new age practices, right? And what's even nicer to know that a lot of these new age practices are coming from a space of care, right, for their people. So often people wonder, why do people work at places like Bajaj Energy for so long, right, for extended periods of time, or even a lot of, like, the Tata Group, so on and so forth. Why is it that their attrition is so low, right? And I often tell people, it's no magic pill that they're giving. A lot of these companies genuinely care for the well-being of their people, right? And when they genuinely care for the well-being of their people, the people tend to reciprocate that love back to the company. And often it's in terms of longer tenures that they have in these companies, their dedication to the companies, the thing that you cited of saying that, hey, you know what, we want to get back to the workplace. And Mohit, if you think of it, why did they want to get back to the workplace? Because when you create this culture of care, they want to meet their colleagues, right? They want to get to a place which they know cares about them, right? That kind of a spirit. So it's so amazing to hear what you just said. And I think this is a good tip for a lot of other founders, a lot of other leaders, that essentially if you care for people, you're going to see a big reciprocation back to you.
True.
Yeah.
So, just to add on, like Lalitpur Power Generation Company Limited, it's a
Yeah.
1980 megawatt supercritical technology thermal power
Yeah.
plant.
Yeah.
Though we are generating power from the conventional sources,
Yeah.
but when you look at from a business standpoint, in terms of all the operational parameters, be it the technology which is being used, be it the water which is being used from the dams, be it the emissions which we are generating, be it the plant load factors, and all these parameters, we are well above the norms and we are super exceeding the norms. And the company has received number of awards from the on the environmental aspects and the operational efficiency aspects and the power saving aspects and things like that. So Lalitpur region, I remember that this plant, now it's been a decade that the plant is there.
Mm-hmm.
the entire ecosystem around that region where the power plant is operating, no one would ever understand or know that there's a power plant of such a huge capacity which is operating there, because the amount of greenery, the amount
Mm-hmm.
of sustainable activities which we
Yeah.
have done over that and there in that region,
Yeah.
the water table level in that region, all that has improved the economic development of that region, the CSR which we have done. That's on the external front, where the vendors, the ecosystem, the external stakeholders, all of them who are related to us
Mm.
have seen their lifestyles improving and developing.
Amazing.
Added to that,
Yeah.
on the internal aspects of the business, if you look at Lalitpur plant, it's no less than a very, very cool resort. You have one of the
Mm.
best facilities in terms of a cricket stadium which has been built over there. You
Wow.
have indoor facilities for lawn tennis, for badminton, for shuttle, cycling tracks. The residential townships which we have are of state of art. So if you go there, like I keep telling my teams, in fact, people living in the cities and corporates would spend a bomb to go to places like this and have their health
Yeah.
rehabilitated
Yeah.
and come here. You people are living in a ecosystem which is so green, so clean, so
Amazing.
nice, pure fresh
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
That's the kind of facility which is given to employees in those
Yep. Yep. Yep.
locations at Bajaj Group,
Yeah.
that people love to be part of the company and they see themselves enjoying, because whatever you would have wanted in a posh apartment in a big city, in a A-class city, is all there in terms of infrastructure for the
Yeah.
Bajaj Group. Be it
Yeah.
medical center, we have
Yeah.
all the medical facilities there, occupational health center with complete medical facilities. So even during the time of COVID, we had none of our employees who actually got affected by COVID.
Yeah.
Not even one case. Everything was well taken care of. The entire ecosystem was there. With such an ecosystem, people definitely feel very
Of
comfortable,
course.
very
Of
assured.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
Added
Yeah.
to it, just in terms of bringing an outside in perspective, when I joined in the organization, what I saw is that this is an organization which is driven by leaders who are from good PSUs and organizations like NTPC.
Yeah.
So the process and systems are very robust,
Yeah.
and there is a very strong culture of learning and cross learning and collaboration of best practices sharing across all units.
Yeah.
So they have a governance mechanism where every unit on a monthly basis in their operational review meetings share what are the business improvements they brought in their plan basis the problems,
Yeah.
what troubleshootings they have done, and that knowledge is surpassed to all the other plans. So there is that cross sharing of learning which is happening. There are a lot of mentors. In fact, I'll tell you there are 270 people who are internal trainers, who are mentors, who keep giving learning and development sessions on all technical aspects of the business
Amazing.
to the team.
Yeah.
So there's a constant churning of learning which is happening in terms of
Yeah.
technology, processes, business, all that.
Yeah.
Added to that, since I said there needs to be a blend between the people approach and technology approach,
Mm.
we had a very good association with upGrad, which has helped us develop the skills and competence of people in a very unique way.
Yeah.
When we had a discussion with a lot of training companies across, and I was looking for some value added learning and development intervention for the company, basis detailed discussions, I was pretty much convinced that upGrad has got the right set of uh, platform and right set of training material and infrastructure which could really bring in a change and
Yeah.
impact
Yeah.
in the learning process.
Yeah.
And this is a phase post COVID, nothing was happening in terms of physical trainings and learning, and more or less everything was stuck to teams and meetings and things like that. We brought upgrad in the organization, and we brought the learning platform of upgrad with an access to all the employees.
Mm.
You wouldn't believe the adoption to technology, which
Mm-hmm.
we never expected that it would be at such a beautiful phase. The target for training mandates which we had taken was average 7 learning mandates per employee is what we were focusing,
Mm.
because the classroom sessions were going on. We gave
Mm.
500 employees unique logins to upgrad.
Mm.
We asked them to look at courses they could upskill in
Yeah.
terms of management, project management, leadership,
Yeah.
all that skills which were available, Excel skills,
Yeah.
your project management skills. People clocked in an average 22 man days of learning during that
Wow.
1 year
Wow.
phase,
Wow.
where the best benchmark is 7 and 5 man
Yeah.
days. We were able to achieve 22 man days, and this was not a push. This was
Yeah.
not a hunter driven target that you need to do this. People were
Amazing.
anxious to adopt the digitization, and they actually took on to
Yeah.
that platform. In fact, it was so
Yeah.
beautiful to see. I just looked at the data of that mandates and I said, how come this can happen at this pace? Since employees
Mm.
stay in the colony and townships, we got to know that employees are also using their login. Their kids are learning excellent project
Wow.
management.
Wow. 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 Wow.
So it was so beautiful to
Wow.
see
Wow.
people taking to upgrade, learning that on a digital platform, everyone accessing it on
Yeah.
mobiles in the home in the evening.
Yeah.
I asked that how come this login is on? How come this learning is happening in the evening
Wow.
here? Please check that. This was the answer. So
I'm
this is
so
the
happy to
beauty.
hear that. Yeah, yeah. I'm so happy to hear that, right? You made my day. And you made my day especially because, we are big believers of all kinds of learning, right? We know that there is a very good place for physical classroom learning, and there's a very good place for online learning. And as upgrad, we're part of both these ecosystems. But when you have that kind of impact, right, when you really see that people are learning, because I think, Mohit, you'd agree, in the knowledge economy today, your skills, your behaviors, your attitudes are, and your knowledge on different things is going to be the key differentiator between people, right? And especially with the rise of, like you said, AI, data, machines becoming smarter, I think if human beings don't keep pace with their own kind of learning, I think that will call for a little bit of trouble, then, right? So we need to constantly keep ourselves abreast and constantly be skilling and reskilling ourselves. And so happy to hear what you said. Thank you. You made my day. Mohit, tell me now. This question is not got to do with your company in particular, but just wearing the hat of an HR head generally. What are the three things that are keeping HR heads up at night? And by up at night, I mean, what are the three areas of concerns in today's time and age that HR people typically have?
So obviously, one biggest concern for any HR head would be having the right talent pipeline within the organization, the business to
Yeah,
run risk-free.
yeah.
How do I de-risk the business by having the right kind of leaders within the organization
Mm,
to head the business to grow the business to the next level?
mm,
That's the topmost challenge which will be in the minds of the CEO or the HR head. And definitely they need to keep constantly working on it to see that do I have the right kind of people? Do I have the right kind of processes to fill in those people in case they are not there?
mm, mm,
Second, again, it's about the changing context, the changing workplace. You have different age group people coming in, the millennium, the Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z.
mm.
There are differences in the ways of working between people,
Yeah,
from long concentration spans to short concentration span, from classroom session learnings to micro learnings to reels and things like that.
yeah, yeah.
When you have to handle this diverse set of work groups,
Mm,
how do you create that synergy between these teams
mm,
so that there is a proper alignment? Because there are pros and cons of both sides of the work group. If you look
mm,
at the older people, or if you look at the senior experienced people in the business, they have a lot of patience. They're very meticulous into
mm,
things. They want
mm,
to put up a lot of things as per structure and system.
mm,
The young workforce is very agile.
mm,
They want to be fast, quick, adapt to that. They don't want to spend time on it.
mm,
They want to look at it. How do we create that resilience in the younger lot? How do we create that unlearning in the elder lot?
mm.
So how do we create that blend between both of them?
Yeah.
How do we establish a mechanism of reverse learning
Mm,
for the senior people? How
mm,
do we do that unlearning
mm.
between at the senior staff? How
Yeah.
do we align them into groups? And one good example of this second
Mm,
challenge, which I saw when we did a very good intervention in Bajaj Energy,
mhm,
again with the help of upgrad. I
mm,
had a very detailed discussion, and this discussion went on with the upgrad team and rest of
mm,
the training L&D companies,
mm.
leadership development companies for roughly about 3 months.
Got it.
Then I narrowed down on my approach with upgrad. We said that we
Yeah.
want to bring in a leadership development intervention for the
Yeah.
organization with the future line of managers for the business.
Yeah.
Business has senior leadership. There,
Yeah.
there are managers who are there, who spend in considerable time. The average tenure which employees have spent in Bajaj Group, though it's just a 15 years company, is 8.5 years.
Okay, wow.
And if you look at, that's a
Mm.
good amount of tenure that people are putting in. So you
Yeah,
have a good managerial lot which is there, and you have a
yeah.
leadership lot. How do I create that future line of managers, future
Mm,
ready managers to take care of the business organization?
mm,
And how do I ensure that this unlearning at the leadership level is happening to accommodate the future manager
mm,
as a successor to him? We
mm,
created a leadership development intervention with upGrad, which was
mm,
basically focusing on addressing these two work groups together.
mm.
They were put into a program which spanned across 6 months.
Yeah,
It was a blended learning model which
yeah,
we built in,
yeah,
which had classroom sessions, which had group discussions, which had self-paced learning, which
yeah,
has focus group discussion and external panel,
yeah,
helping them on topics.
yeah,
The program was all designed on leadership models,
yeah,
all designed on managing teams, managing people, managing individuals,
yeah,
and enhancing your personal effectiveness.
yeah,
But this was not theoretical.
yeah,
This was all done using standard structured models of McKinsey and other consultants,
yeah,
which would give you a structured approach, whether you're doing a difficult conversation, whether you're
yeah,
doing negotiations, whether you're doing feedback counseling. What is the model you use? How do you maintain respect at the epitome of it, but you pass the message on and create a team which is more efficient?
got it.
This is something which we developed and designed and implemented with upGrad.
Mm,
We had our senior leaders at the level of president and vice president and managerial level attending this program.
got it.
Once the program was completed,
Yeah,
we did a convocation ceremony of all these people having wearing in their robes, throwing off the convocation caps, and then
yeah.
the feedback from the leaders was, we never thought that learning could be so interesting, and there was something which we
Mm,
had to unlearn.
very nice.
So that they understood, and then the senior leaders were telling. In fact, we always believed that whatever we said needs to be done, and
Mm,
that is it. That's the final verdict. But we now understand that we need to change our style. We need to
mm,
get collaborative. We
yeah,
need to take views and inputs from people, and that
yeah,
is how we have worked.
yeah,
We would have never understood that if we would not have unlearned it through this program.
yeah,
So that is the challenge which organizations need to tackle.
yeah,
How do you make people unlearn and make leaders accept or take feedback and align teams together?
mm,
What is the second challenge?
got it. Got it. So
And the third challenge is how much is too much, how much is exact.
mm,
So, it's a world of technology.
mm,
There are so many things which are happening.
mm,
So, you have 110 things on the plate.
mm,
What I would tell all individuals, what I'll tell all HODs, department heads, HR professionals is, it's not like too many things on the plate will make it more decorative.
mm,
You need to have a clear picture of what you want to do.
correct.
I keep telling teams and people when I work with, even when you're implementing a HRMS,
Mm,
there are 110 HRMS.
mm,
Everyone will come speaking, this is best, that is
mm,
best, this is
mm,
best,
mm,
we are doing this, we are doing that, all that. What I tell them is any software is as best as you use it.
yeah, yeah,
If you get the best software in the world and you still don't use it, it's useless. It's
got it.
worth a penny.
Got it.
You get a standard software, but you use it to the best, you still can get a best result out of it.
Yeah.
So the third challenge for HR professionals is how much is too much? What is it that I need to do in terms of focusing that the larger purpose of the organization is met?
Mm,
Everyone in the organization, right from the topmost level to the bottommost level, is aligned to the core purpose.
mm,
How are we collaboratively working towards that goal?
mm,
Do I feel accomplished when I come to my workplace and I
mm,
feel, yes, I'm enjoying it? I want to come back on the next Monday.
mm,
Am I driven by my own will to be part of this organization, or I'm being pushed?
mm.
Like that Naukri ad which you see on TV, which comes, they're pulling the person to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
That is not something which should happen. So
Yeah.
the right amount of digitization, right amount of interventions in terms of HR,
Yeah.
so that your business leaders and stakeholders are not saying, yeah, kya kya karna padega HR ke liye. I
Yeah.
tell people, एचआर के लिए कुछ नहीं करना पड़ता है, एचआर को
Correct.
बिजनेस के लिए कुछ करना पड़ता है,
Correct.
एंड देन इट बिकम्स पार्ट ऑफ द रूटीन. सो अ
Correct.
राइट ब्लेंड ऑफ डिजिटाइजेशन, राइट ब्लेंड ऑफ प्रॉपर प्रोसेसेस इन टर्म्स ऑफ टैलेंट मैनेजमेंट, परफॉर्मेंस मैनेजमेंट, रिवार्ड रिकॉग्निशन,
Correct.
एंगेजमेंट, दैट्स इट.
Correct.
Don't overdo it.
Correct.
That's the third challenge which we need to
I
address.
think that's a wonderful, wonderful point, right? I think, Mohit, your third point, especially because I think what you're trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think HR leaders need to think very closely about prioritization, right? Because you'll have 100 things on the plate, and everything seems like something that should be done, or that some other company is doing it, or and you'll have so many people trying to sell that to you that, "Arey yaar, ye company ye kar rahi hai, wo kar rahi hai, wo kar rahi hai." And very often from a execution point of view, from the person actually working in your company point of view, because this has happened, and I've heard this so often, right? He says, यार मैं ना काम कम करता हूँ, एचआर के जो प्रोसेसेस है और एचआर के जो
Correct.
टिक मार्क है वो ज्यादा करता हूँ मैं. You get what I'm
Correct.
trying to say? I'm doing lesser of my actual work, and I'm doing more of all these HR related activities, right? That HR
Exactly.
thinks important. I'm doing more of that, and which is actually exhausting me, and it's taking more of my time, right? And I'm a big believer of that. Whether it comes to training, whether it comes to HR, whether it comes to anything, that do fewer things but do them really well, right? And really think before introducing just about anything to your system, right? Because for you, you're just introducing it once, but maybe it takes a employee's time. I don't know, right? If it takes an employee's 1 hour every month, that's still 12 hours a year for that particular person, and that's just one thing you're introducing. Now imagine introducing 3 or 4 of such things, right? That So I think I totally agree with you. I think HR heads should be very, very particular about prioritizing and not putting too many things on the plate, because it's just so easy for people from HR backgrounds to actually do that, not realizing how much of their employees' time is actually going in this. I think your other 2 points also of what are the top worries that an HR head typically has. Talent pipeline is what you hear through and through. I think almost every person that I've asked this question to, saying that talent, and which is again so interesting, right? With all the development in technology that we were talking about earlier, still the most important thing HR heads are worried about and CEOs are worried about is the talent within my company, the actual humans and the development of those humans, right?
True.
Because I think that is still going to be very, very critical. And I think especially for your company, the second point that you mentioned around this generations and how different generations will work together seamlessly is a I think a challenge every company is grappling with. And I think you put it very, very nicely, saying that probably one generation needs to get a little more agile and another generation needs to get a little more resilient, right? And I think we need to work towards both these things, and that will actually lead to a company succeeding. And I'm sure you'll agree, right, that often जैसे घर में बोलते हैं ना, whatever decision is taken, counsel the adults for the elders for their point of view, and also counsel with the younger people for their point of view, and then take a decision, right? Because there's certain wisdom which is there in the elders, and there is certain I guess passion, और हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना,
True.
स्फूर्ति जो होती है, right? That is there in the younger people. So agility, all those things, right? So mix of those things can be a net positive, but it can also be a challenge, right? Because there's also the question of conflict of interest in some way, right?
True.
Mohit, tell me, you worked across several different types of industries, and quite challenging industries that you worked across, right? If you were just starting your career in 2023, right? If you were just getting out of your formal education, um, what are the 3 skills that you would focus on to really have a great career ahead, right? What would those skills that are important in 2024 for people to succeed?
Okay, so in 2024, definitely one thing is on the IT part, you need to be very adept with all the new technologies with respect to
Mm,
AI, with respect
yeah.
to your project management skills, with respect to your presentation skills,
Mm,
because ultimately communication is the key.
mm,
Being able to work on strategically work upon those IT initiatives, IT skilling is very important.
yeah.
One. Second, in terms of the key skills, is again what remains a constant, whether it was in the 90s or in the 2000 or in the 2023, is
Yeah.
expanding your horizon
Yeah.
to learn and unlearn quickly.
Yeah.
That should remain there. You need to keep expanding because you need to be a master of all,
Yeah.
because the technology and landscape is changing so fast.
Yeah.
Probably the skills you have got today will become completely obsolete in a period of span, in a
Yeah.
period of 3 5 years now.
Yeah.
So you need to keep learning
Yeah.
constantly, and you need to expand your horizon.
Yeah.
That's one very important thing. Third thing, which probably is also again important more from a behavioral perspective, is how do you actually ensure that you remain humble when you're working within teams? Just because you have the right knowledge, you've acquired the right professional degree,
Mm.
you have the right package with you, doesn't give you a point to be arrogant.
Mm.
Because when it's about leadership, it's all about humility.
Mm.
If you have humility, you will have that learning element in you, and you will understand and learn.
Mm.
Learn even from the lowest level person or anyone who's even uneducated, but he shares something to you.
Mm.
You will listen to him and learn.
Mm.
So, humility becomes one very important point that as a professional, when you come in,
Mm.
and that is something which is closely connected to being human. The
Mm.
difference between a machine and a human being
Mm.
is humility. This is one top skill which will take you to the top,
Yeah.
irrespective whichever decade you're born in.
Yeah.
So the three things which I would say is digitization, AI, project management capabilities, which helps you on communication, presentation, learning and expanding your horizon
Yeah.
constantly,
Yeah.
not remaining siloed to one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Third thing, humility,
Yeah. Yeah.
which you need to show, that defines your character, that defines your personality, and
Yeah.
people love you for that.
Yeah, I think amazing. And I'm seeing these common trends, right? When I'm talking to other HR heads as well, I'm seeing these common trends. I think just about everyone in today's day and age needs to be comfortable with digitization and comfortable with technology, right? Exactly like Mohit, we had to get comfortable with probably Word, Microsoft Word, and Excel, and how to use PowerPoint to a certain extent, the softwares. I think today, whatever the modern tools are in each and every profession, people need to get very, very comfortable with them. And especially, I think people from a slightly older generation, right? Because you can't take the attitude today that, hey, I'm too old to learn. Well, you're going to become obsolete then. So I think whether you're young, whether you're old, I think being comfortable with digital and technology is very, very important. Your second point again is a very valid point of saying communication skills, right? I think in the end, you could have all the technical prowess, yeah, but if you really want to succeed, you need to combine your technical prowess with your ability to articulate yourself, both one on one, in writing and in public, right? In all three domains, you need to be able to articulate yourself. Your point on, yeah, I think I liked your point also on, because things are changing so quickly, getting also a general overview, right, on stuff, right, is very, very important. I love this quote that says every person must know everything about something and something about everything, right? So really, understanding things around you become very, very important as well. And yeah, I think a time tested thing of learning and succeeding is always being humble, right? Because without that particular approach, you're never going to learn. And I especially loved what you said about learning from just about everyone. Yeah, very nice quote that says every person knows something that you don't, right? And if you, I think, walk around with that particular approach in your mind, I think you will soak a lot of knowledge without even realizing. No, Mohit, sometimes if you
True,
have
true.
humility in you, you're often learning even without realizing that you're learning, because a lot of our learning happens just through observation, right? But the observation is triggered with a sense of humility inside. If you don't have that humility inside, your sense of observation never gets triggered, right? So I think they're very, very, very good points that you've shared. Mohit, what excites you about your role the most, right? Why should people still get into HR? If anybody asked you that question, why is HR so exciting as a role? What would you say?
For me, in general, if things are normal and if there's nothing to solve, that doesn't excite me.
Mm.
Even when you see a choreograph, when you see a straight line
Mm.
is like dead.
Yeah.
So if you're living, if you're ticking, you have the ups and downs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the challenges in life actually give you a purpose, because
Yeah.
what's the purpose of life?
Yeah.
When you look at happiness,
Mm.
suppose you have a goal that I would want a larger house, I would want a car, I would want a X designation.
Mm.
The moment you get that X designation, you get a larger house and car, do you think you're going to remain happy forever?
Yeah, absolutely
No, the
not.
happiness dies out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're happy for a day or that moment, but you're dying out. And then the human mind is again exploring for something more.
Mm.
So, what is actually the true mantra for happiness is not achieving the goal, it's
Mm.
the journey.
Yeah.
It's that purpose of constantly going on moving, tackling challenges,
Mm.
completing those challenges, finding out new challenges,
Mm.
helping people grow. So, with
Yeah.
every challenge that you get,
Mm.
you are actually trying to solve it out. You're actually trying to create new success. You're helping people grow. You're
Mm.
helping others achieve something in life. That is the real kick. So for me, that is something which gives me a kick, that if I really want to be in HR, what excites me, any new thing which we want to do, how are we continually improving? So continual
Mm.
improvement is not going to ever end. It's
Yeah.
going to be infinite.
Yeah.
And that's the real experience which will actually help you grow.
Yeah.
So I think that is what keeps sticking.
Mm.
I enjoy it when there's a challenge, when there's something new to do.
Mm.
The first thing, you may get baffled. You may not know what has to be done.
Mm.
So you start searching for answers,
Mm.
start looking out what has to be done.
Yeah.
That gives you an excitement. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
learning something new. I'm trying to find out things. I'm trying to get ideas,
Yeah.
and I am achieving it. So
Yeah.
this part of it is what keeps us happy and going,
Mm.
and that is what drives me. How do we?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting, right? I think HR as a profession, I think, is only going to grow in importance, right? Because, like we said, the war for talent is so high today, and talent development has become such a critical issue that HR is going to be a very exciting profession in the years to come, right? Irrespective of what else happens, right, in technology, AI, so on and so forth. In the end, every company is going to need at least a certain amount of people, and those people, there's always going to be a war for talent. So I think HR as a role is always going to be exciting.
So
Yeah.
there's a catch in this. As
Yeah.
HR professionals, the war for talent is definitely going to go. It's
Yeah.
definitely going to go if you're really not able to strike the right kind of what to say chord with the candidate whom you are hiring.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
an HR professional, even today when I hire people,
Yeah.
other than hiring him for competence, the next discussion which I have with the purpose with the candidate is,
Yeah.
why is it that you're wanting to join this
Yeah.
organization? All my interactions and discussions which I've had with business leaders,
Yeah.
I have had hundreds of business leaders in my life, and you can vouch for it. You can talk to any of those leaders who have been hired and worked with me. All would be available on my LinkedIn account. You can have a discussion with them. The candid discussion I have had with them is, in my interviews, I've never given a rosy picture about a job to the
Yeah.
candidate.
Yeah.
I've only spoken to him about challenges and said him, these are the challenges. Why do you want to join?
Yeah.
And the candidate at some point in time is amused that the person is actually posing challenges to me, and he's telling this unlike most of the times that
Yeah.
a very rosy picture is shown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm telling the candidate, challenges is what keeps you excited. And if you have
Yeah.
found a guy who started loving those challenges
Yeah.
and he's still undeterred and he says, yes, this is what it is, and I'm willing to do it,
Mm.
your war for talent has ended that day.
Yeah.
So when I hire leaders, when I hire people, this is one unique, distinct element or characteristic which I'm looking in people, that I want to tell him the truth. I don't
Yeah.
want to cover it up, rosy it up with beautiful things and say everything is good, and then he comes in and it's demotivated day one.
Yeah.
Show the real picture to people,
Yeah.
show them the challenges, tell them that if you have the metal in you, challenges is what you're gonna love,
Yeah.
and I love
Yeah.
challenges. So once the candidate accepts that, he's gonna be with you for long. And I know leaders and business leaders and managers who work with the company, they've stayed with the company 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. We've recently done a Bajaj Seva Samman Award. Like, what is followed in all the companies. 5 years of service, 3 years of service. In fact, a lot of the companies now have started 1 year completed, give a reward. 2 years
Uh-huh.
completed, give a reward. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
We still, but we still launched the Bajaj Seva Samman Award, which was rewarding people for their meritorious service for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
Again, we're not going it with the simple way that, okay, because he's completed 5 years, give it. We really value and appreciate them that, okay, you've done this, so you're getting this reward. But the whole beauty of this is that in this company alone, out of the 1,000 workforce which was there, 950 odd employees, 670 employees have got long service award.
Mm.
Imagine this. So the war for talent actually will die out if you're really getting people with that passion,
Yeah.
people who love challenges, don't show rosy pictures, speak truth to the people.
Mm.
And there are a lot of people who love to do work, who love to perform and deliver. You will get them. But if you're just going for talent just because you want to fill in numbers, you definitely are going to stay in the struggle for talent.
Mm. Such
That's
a
my thought or takeaway.
Mohit, that's such a lovely note to end the discussion on because we're out of time. But I think that is an amazing end note for any HR professional, HR head to really ponder upon, right? There's just so much to learn from that, right? So importance from an individual's point of view and importance of challenges and how the journey matters more than the goal, because once you achieve your goal, well, then what next, right? Then it's the next goal and the journey towards that, and that's a lovely way for human beings to keep themselves positively engaged and therefore be a positive force in society, right? That's one point that I've learned from you. And I think the other thing which was very interesting that you said is, yes, the war, the mitigation of the war of talent comes from not really giving people rosy pictures when they start off, but really putting the true challenges of the work in front of them and see whether they feel passionately about those solving of those challenges, right? And if they feel passionately about that, they're the right fit for your company, and that's going to be all the more important that we get hiring right, and we hire the right kind of people. Mohit, it was an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I know this is the first time we're interacting and we jumped straight into this conversation. We do that on purpose so that the conversation is slightly raw and genuine, and I think people can tell when something is not very well rehearsed, right? And it's coming straight from the heart. But with real pleasure talking to you. Thank you for the kind words that you shared about upGrad. That really means a lot to me. And I'm hoping that at some point we do round two of this. And even if we don't do a recorded round two, I am hoping to meet you soon and interact with you just generally on stuff.
Thank you so much, Swapnil, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to be on this show. It was definitely a pleasure talking to you, and thanks, upGrad, for all the wonderful partnership we had with you. It's been a wonderful association.
Thank
Thank you so much. Wishing the
thank
team a very happy new year.
you too. Thank you very much.